Hi everyone, welcome back again. We have our second solo exhibition here, being at the same time, both of them. So we have this exhibition by Maryanne Wick. Maryanne has been with us for quite a while as well, and this is her second solo exhibition with us. And she actually showed this body of work, which she did, most of them, which she did in Spain quite a number of years ago. She had 2 exhibitions already on some of these works, one in Camperdown Art Centre, and also she exhibited in Melbourne for some of these works also, but she had never exhibited these in Sydney, so it's a good opportunity to show this work, but she also did some newer works as well at the same time. And to open the exhibition, again, we're very fortunate to have Dr. Lorraine Kypiotis from National Art School. She's an art historian, but she's also head of the Undergraduate Studies at National Art School. So I'd like you to all welcome Dr. Lorraine Kypiotis.
Thank you so much. Well, I'm just going to jump right into this and share this particular fact. In 2017, Maryanne Wick fell in love. Well, she was already in love with her husband, Peter, but perhaps that year she loved him just a little bit more, because it was in 2017 that Peter accepted a position facilitating English studies in Spanish schools. And so, the pair came to find themselves in the little town of Valdepenas, in the heart of the region of Castilla-La Mancha, the area made famous, of course, by Don Quixote, just south of Madrid. It was here that Maryanne felt a sense of community. We've all felt it, I'm sure, in travelling to certain places that we connect with. The people and the land itself just gets under your skin and you become part of it. Now here, in the small but remarkably well-appointed Museo Municipale de Valdepenas, the municipal museum, she found the archaeology section, which focuses primarily on findings from the excavations at the nearby Iberian settlement of, and I hope I pronounce this correctly, Cerro de las Cabezas, an ancient fortified town just 8 kilometres south of Valdepenas. Here, in the Museo, she felt an intense connection to the historical past through the artefacts that she encountered and became mesmerised by. These artefacts, hand-painted ceramics, cutting tools, metal objects, even children's toys, dated from the middle to late Bronze Age. Now let's just get our head around there. You know, when I talk about the Bronze Age here, I'm talking around 2,500 years ago. It's quite some time. And these objects were actually made by the ancient Iberian people, who are also known as Oretanians, the predecessors of today's Spaniards, of course, the indigenous population of that particular region around Castilla-La Mancha. Now, Maryanne asked the town council, while Peter was teaching the school, asked the town council, could she paint in the archaeological section? And it became for her a totally immersive experience. She slowly also became friends with Miguel, the restorer, who, as you can imagine, was very protective of his collection at first. Now, things went on, and the following year, 2018, she was appointed the resident artist by the town council. Soon after, in April of 2019, an exhibition was organised in the nearby town of Tomelloso in a 16th century inn. How amazing that would have been. And this was followed soon after, in fact the following month, with another exhibition in Valdepenas, actually in the Museo itself. And I believe Miguel also really wanted Maryanne's works right next to the archaeological artefacts that she'd been working with. By now, of course, word had gotten round that an Australian was painting Spanish heritage, a media storm broke out. Maryanne was featured, you know, not only in the newspapers, but also, I believe, on Madrid TV. Yeah, it must have been such an incredible experience, and but how lovely for little towns like that in Spain to be featured. Now, these are the facts, of course, but her journey entails more than just dates and events. I think that in appreciation of Maryanne's works, we really need to contemplate her connection to these particular objects, to the humanity inherent not only in their production and use, but also in their very existence. The more she engaged with them, the more she came to appreciate that their fascination and beauty lay not only in their discovery, their endurance, their age and their origin, but also in their fragility, their flaws and their imperfections. The artefacts that so fascinated Maryanne were imperfect but nonetheless beautiful. They held an essence of timelessness, of being able to connect one to a bygone era. And these objects remind us, as much as they did Maryanne and still do, that no matter how self-absorbed we are in our own time and place, there are many who have come before us that actually made and used these particular objects. I can only imagine Maryanne's reaction to them as they lay in the museo in a state of fragmented incompleteness. And in fact, you can see a few of these works in their beautiful fragmented incompleteness, shards and pots that have actually been put together and have shown all of the extended, I'm going to call it the extended experience of these particular artefacts. If we are to truly contemplate an object, as Maryanne did with the collection in Valdepenas, we find that the object itself is not only a material entity that offers itself obviously to an aesthetic appreciation, but it's also an immaterial bundle of past events that necessarily connect that object to people, to places, to practices. These objects, if I might say, had lives. They had interacted at various times in their existence with different people. Maryanne has related to me that this was something she deeply resonated with, and she gave much thought to. She couldn't stop thinking about their histories and the people who'd come into contact with these objects. From the artist who created these pieces, from the archaeologists who dug them up and restored them, from the painters who gave them a new life, and to us who can now appreciate them in some form, kilometres from where they actually exist. Each time these objects were actually used, that they were interacted with, they actually gained a new layer of meaning that added to their particular lives. And if I might mix my metaphors a little here, they were a little bit like actors in participating in a play that was ongoing, where the next chapter actually still has to be written because their lives are still going on. So Maryanne, let's call her the author in this scenario, was doing just that. She was continuing their ongoing performance. Through her paintings, she was able to give these objects a new life. And in producing these works, she was also reflecting upon the riches of her own experience. She was intuitively making a connection to her sense of place and responding in a way through the eyes and practice of an artist. As Maryanne herself has stated, the work is about capturing a sense of place based on the impacts of time, from the origin of each artifact through to its discovery, through to its use, restoration and display. The works that you see around you here, and it's a beautiful retrospective from the work she actually made in Iberia, the ones she brought back home, and the more recent works as we walk around the room here. All of these works are the next step in the journey, not only Maryanne's journey, but in the journey of the objects themselves. I think it's pertinent also to add at this particular stage that Maryanne was making these still lifes in Spain, which has such a rich tradition of still life that dates back to the 17th century. And as I was contemplating these works, of course, I was thinking about the great masters of Spanish 17th century art, Zurbarán and of course Velázquez, but also the female artists such as Josefa de Óbidos, who made incredible, beautiful still lives, and their reaction to actually capturing the quiet poetry of quotidian objects. It's rather ironic, however, that the Spanish term for still life is natura morta, dead nature, because these paintings and these objects, in fact, are anything but dead in Maryanne's works. There's something else about Maryanne's works that makes me very much think of Giorgio Morandi, who I know is an Italian painter, but I always, hark back to my Italian art history. But I love the way that he explored that imagined inner life of everyday objects. And this is exactly what Maryanne is doing as well. Maryanne, very much like Morandi and the Spanish 17th century painters, focuses on this inner life and as a way of striving to find a very much a purer and hidden state of connection. There is also in her work an incredible sense of stillness of spaces, the structure of her compositions, the spatial relationships between the objects and their display, the play of light over the forms that give you a permanence but an impermanence at the same time. Maryanne, in the integrity of her works, reveals the humanity inherent in the original artefacts that she's translated in them. Now, I'm honoured to say that I've known Maryanne for a long time, almost 20 years. In the first instance, when she was a student at the National Art School, and then, of course, in her career as an artist and a friend. And I value incredibly our very deep and resonant in discussions that we have about artwork in general and her artwork in particular. A little like Maryanne, when she first laid eyes on the collection in Maryanne, I have also fallen in love with her vision and her interpretation of Iberian culture and of timeless beauty. I hope that you too will fall in love with Maryanne's timeless works.
Oh heavens, how do I follow that? Thank you, Lorraine. This means everything. Lorraine and I have known each other actually longer than 20 years. And it's been, much longer.
Oh, it's almost 30 years.
It's nearly 30 years. But saying that,
How time flies.
but it's been lovely getting together and talking about this subject and archaeology and art. It's just been a fantastic part of putting this show together and reconnecting, and hopefully more to come. So that'll be great. I just want to say thank you to Simon for putting the show together and making it so fantastic. And it's a wonderful space, as I'm sure you all agree. Thank you, Roz. Where's Roz? Roz? Back there. Roz, I'm just so thrilled and proud to be working with you and having an exhibition together because I love your work and I was so excited that we were able to do this together because for me it completes a picture, ceramics from nearly 3,000 years old to ceramics of today. And I think that is a really lovely combination. And these are beautiful ceramics, and I want you guys to really appreciate them. And they're gorgeous. And I love the fact that they interact with this work. I want to thank Peter for all your help, as always. And I want to thank everybody for coming today. I'm seeing faces here that I haven't seen for quite a while. And it's very, very lovely and very exciting. And just to have you all here means so, so much. So thank you, Kay and Scott, as well. Thank you. You guys are always so, so helpful and supportive. Thank you. All right, I think that's probably right. I forgot that sorted. Okay. All right. Thanks, everyone. Have a nice time, and thank you for coming. And Roz and I so appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you.